These satellite images released by the US government appear to show damage to part of the oil plant at Al-Baqaiq in Saudi Arabia. They could prove vital in determining who attacked the plant and from where.
It looked like they were damaged in the north and west part of the facilities, which would mean that they didn't come from Yemen. But then I've looked closer, and other people have looked closer at those photos, and it's not quite clear. It looks like some was just from the west that could have been coming from Yemen. But don't forget, the Houthis have been launching drones and missiles against Saudi Arabia for several months now. None of them have been able to cause the damage that these did, but this is not new for them to do it.
Houthi rebels in Yemen say they flew armed drones across the border deep into Saudi Arabia to attack two major oil facilities. If confirmed, it's their most ambitious and devastating operation, following dozens of smaller-scale strikes in the kingdom in recent months.
Next tonight, we turn to a 10-year-old girl fighting for her life outside of Dallas after contracting a rare brain-eating amoeba while swimming in a river over Labor Day weekend. The child facing long odds, but there is hope. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez has the details.
I love you.
Tonight, this 10-year-old girl fighting to survive after contracting a rare brain-eating amoeba.
She is still here with us, and we are still fighting.
Lily Mae Avant complaining of a headache and fever just days after swimming in a river near her Central Texas home Labor Day weekend. Her condition quickly growing dire.
Whenever they went to wake her up, she was unresponsive.
Lily now in a medically induced coma and facing daunting odds. Of the 145 people infected with the Naegleria fowleri amoeba since 1962, only 4 have survived. The most recent, Sebastian De Leon, the camp counselor contracting it while swimming in a Florida lake in 2016.
Meanwhile, South Korea is considering boosting its defense capabilities by spending $34 million next year to develop unmanned surface vehicles for its Navy and mobile surveillance equipment. Multiple South Korean military sources confirm that South Korean defense and aerospace company LIG Next One would be undertaking the development of the unmanned vessel called the Haegum. The South Korean Navy's been running a pilot project of the USV since 2017. Following an MOU with the Defense Acquisition Program Administration. Further development for military use is to be finalized after the National Assembly approves next year's budget. President Moon Jae-in has reaffirmed his commitment to establishing peace on the Korean Peninsula, saying the country's future lies in a new order of peace and prosperity. He said this in a regular meeting with his top aides today, amid positive developments signaling the resumption of denuclearization talks with the North.
곧 북미 실무 대화가 재개될 것이며 남북미 정상 간의 변함없는 신뢰와 평화에 대한 의지는 한반도 평화 프로세스를 진전시키는 힘이 될 것입니다. 우리 정부는 그 역할이 무엇이든 할 수 있는 모든 것을 다해 한반도 평화 정착과 평화 경제로 공동 번영의 미래를 당당하게 열어갈 것입니다.
He added that he will work to gather support from the international community when he attends the UN General Assembly next week. And through his bilateral summit with U.S. President Donald Trump on the sidelines, President Moon will fully support dialogue between North Korea and the U.S. and discuss ways to strengthen Seoul's ties with Washington.
California passes a controversial bill that, if made law, would force universities in the state to provide students seeking to terminate a pregnancy with abortion pills. The proposal sparked outrage.
By ensuring that abortion care is available on campus, college students will not have to choose between delaying important medical care or having to travel long distances or miss classes or work.
Not on my dime, not on my dime. Tax me to help the homeless. Tax me to help social services, but don't tax me to pay for the disposal of human life.
They should be ashamed to risk women's lives at schools.
Well, if the approval of California's governor goes ahead, in 2023, campus health services at 34 universities in the state will be required to provide students with abortion pills. According to the bill, there are more than 400,000 eligible female students at California state university campuses, while private donations of about $10 million will be used to train staff and buy ultrasound machines. It's feared, though, that eventually the state would have to cover the cost, or universities would have to raise student health fees to cover it all.
Asylum seekers waiting in Mexico to get their first day in court today, but it's not a traditional courthouse. Their cases will be heard in a tent. Two so-called tent courthouses are opening up this morning along Texas's southern border. They're expected to handle cases related to the Trump administration's Remain in Mexico program.
The cases will also be heard remotely via video conference. Judges will not be present, and neither will lawyers.
You know, so we were here a month ago, right? And we saw roughly a dozen or 20 or so tents that were set up right across the border in Matamoros, Mexico. We went back just yesterday, and this place has boomed from maybe like a tiny tent town to a big city. I mean, we're talking probably nearly 100 tents that are set up. And then there are people that are camping out on the banks of the river. These people are living in absolutely filthy conditions. The smell is very difficult to wade through. And these families don't have a lot of places where they can, for example, go to the bathroom.
A radical shift in policy is how many people are viewing this after 82 migrants were allowed to disembark in Italy onto the island of Lampedusa. Well, the country's new foreign minister, Luigi Di Maio, has justified this by saying it's not a return to open ports.
There's a big misunderstanding about the safe port given to Ocean Viking. It was assigned a port because the EU adhered to our request to take the major share of the migrants. It must be made clear that, just like with the previous government, our aim is to ensure that those who arrive in Italy are redistributed to other European countries.
Well, that's perhaps understandable, given that the anti-migrant policies and the closure of Italy's ports to charity rescue vessels and to migrants was one of the most popular policies instigated by the country's former Interior Minister, Matteo Salvini, who saw his popularity and the popularity of his party surge in the time that he was in government.
Now to that massive walkout. Nearly 50,000 United Auto Workers striking against General Motors this morning. 55 plants all around the country shut down. Alex Perez is in Detroit, where workers have been protesting since early this morning. Good morning, Alex.
Hey, good morning, Robin. The union said there would be a strike if they could not reach a deal by midnight, and that's exactly what happened here. I want you to take a look behind me here. You can see a number of workers already on the picket line here. The union says they're fighting for better wages, better benefits, and their share of the profits. General Motors says they've made a substantial offer that includes 5,400 new jobs and saving two plants that were slated to be shut down. The union says that offer is simply not enough right now. Both sides expected to be back at negotiations later this morning.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo issuing an emergency executive order banning the sale of those flavored e-cigarettes here in the state. Critics say those flavored pods are targeted toward teenagers. The Trump administration has proposed a national ban on flavored e-cigarettes.
Parents attempting to catch a criminal in the act by installing a Ring doorbell caught this incredible footage of their 5-year-old son instead.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How great is that? We're still wearing his bike helmet. Here with more behind that patriotic salute, which has now gone viral, is the father, Mike Satterthwaite of Virginia, and his 5-year-old son, Preston. Guys, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us today from D.C.
Good morning, and thanks for having us.
Okay, so Mike, why did you install one of those video doorbells?
Well, Preston helped me about a couple months ago, around 4th of July, put up the flag in the first place. And as we were installing it, I was explaining the importance of why we respect the flag and how we can never let it hit the ground. And one day, a few weeks ago, we were taking him to daycare before he started kindergarten. And we noticed the flag was ripped down and it was laying down on the ground.